Let me start off by speaking for a lot of people, perhaps you. Nobody's buying the story about the Maui fires. Nobody. And the question is, well, what is the story? What aren't you buying? What are the conspiracy theories involved in it? What are conspiracy theories? Who are the people debunking it? What's the proper course of reaction and analysis you should apply? And where does this fit in based upon the information? Because you know that whatever you get from the prototypical news stories, it's not going to be the truth. It's going to be what they want you to believe. Nobody on any platform, anybody on cable news, anybody is going to ever go through an official story that is given to you, and they're not going to break it apart. They're not going to ask, well, does this make sense? Whether it's COVID, 9/11, Iran, the Biden laptop, anything. You must understand before we get going that the official media, the sock puppet media, the shadow government media, they are there for one reason and one reason only: to make sure that you follow the storyline that you are supposed to believe. Not which is true, but what you're supposed to believe. They are repeaters, not reporters. They are wholly owned subsidiaries of this shadow invisible government. And whatever the official story is, they are given it and they repeat it. That's it. They tell you nothing. They give you a lot of B-roll, pictures, graphs, a lot of feigned reactions, but you learn nothing. Let's go through this, okay? And let me ask you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and the like. Okay, what are we talking about? Number one, I must get to this first. Whenever there are fires, whether they're in the Northern California fires or these fires, there is a group of people that always advance the following: DEW, direct energy weapons or directed energy weapons, lasers, satellites, however, it's referred to as DEW. And DEW, if you look, they've been around. They are directed energy weapons, use concentrated electromagnetic energy to combat the energy forces and acids. I'm reading this. And they include high energy lasers and electromagnetics, millimeter wave, high power microwave. Okay. But for some particular reason, from that fact, there is a group of folks, and listen carefully to what I'm saying, who immediately, without question, in a patellar reflex, almost this incredibly connected reaction, whenever there is a fire, whenever there are fires, they will immediately, almost from again, from a patellar point of view, say directed energy weapons, DEW. Now, when asked, where did you get this from? What is the basis for this? Because there is nothing that is at all impossible about the suggestion. There is nothing at all that renders it prima facie impossible or insane. Do you really think it's impossible? Of course not. But in order for you to say it, in order you to apply the notion of critical thinking, you've got to say, well, here's a reason why. And for the most part, you will not hear a why. Number two, this is under the first rubric of this. There will be references to pictures that are either taken or posted, or taken, posted, and debunked, that show light appearing to be light, laser lights, laser-like lights, streams, ribbons, trails of light. Now, whenever this happens, you have the debunkers who come forward, Snopes and PolitiFact and others, and they will say this is something called a light pillar. This picture is the wrong picture. It's from a controlled oil refinery fire, or it's someplace else. And they will attempt to say there is no such thing to directed energy weapons because of these two pieces of information. One, the rote, almost axiomatic recitation of references to light pillars. Number two, the picture of something that is debunked. But that doesn't necessarily do anything to quell the interest or the focus or the belief. In fact, it will just stir it up, because logically that doesn't do anything. That doesn't help me. You've pointed to two different things. Now, I always remain in, I'm neutral. Tell me, prove it, prove something. Give me a hypothesis, give me a suspicion, give me a theory, give me a hunch, but do not ever confuse those with proof. But I want to know where you're going. Let me go with you. Some of the greatest, from Feynman to Newton to Stephen Hawking, some things started with hunches and kind of like, this may sound crazy, but let's try this. So I've got no problem with that. Now, in the meantime, the people who want to just, and you got to understand something. When it comes to this wonderful thing called conspiracy theories, there are two people. One, the people who love to propose what is called conspiracy theory, which I will explain in a moment, and those who love to debunk them. The professional skeptics. Professional skeptics live and breathe in destroying, and they don't believe anything. They don't believe in UFOs, EBEs, miracles, God, Jesus, life after death, nothing. To them, they're not a debunker, they're a bunker. They're an archie bunker. They don't believe anything, and they are useless. Put them over here. Useless. The other people who are useless are people who believe everything. They believe everything. They believe everything. It's directed energy weapons. It's Soros. It's Klaus Schwab. It's whatever. They believe everything. They're in the same category. But somewhere in this, there are you and I who are saying, okay, let's just think about this. So take your directed energy weapon hypotheses, put it over here in this particular, I'm putting a lot of, and let's see what happens. But do not jump to this immediate recitation of that's the truth, because in my particular pocket of friends, in my particular pocket of conspiracists, in my particular clerisy, there are those of us who love to repeat this, and we get some kind of a, hey, you're one of us, because there's a certain nomenclature. And I've seen this all the time. Oh, it's weather, well, HARP, DARPA. I've seen this with name it. But let me see if I can explain something to you. The people, if I had to debunk, again, be a debunker, I'd have the easiest time, because I would take somebody who would post something and I would say, or I would deliberately post something that was wrong. Hey, Jerry, do you have that picture of that oil refinery fire? Let's just say hypothetically. Yeah, post it and claim it. You still have that phony account, yeah. Or somebody will say it anyway. Or maybe you just wait. But you post something that you know is wrong, and you say, you see, this is This is what people believe. They think this is a directed energy weapon. You go, no, 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 no. There's no. You're missing the point. Just because this photo is wrong doesn't mean that the notion is wrong. There are people who see the face of Jesus Christ in toast or in latte foam. And even though that may be considered to be crazy, that doesn't mean there's no Jesus Christ, merely because somebody misinterpreted something. Do you understand what I'm saying? And as soon as you say the wrong thing, and ask Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, once something once it is connected to you, it's like Velcro. It's permanent Velcro. It's Velcro. It's like it's stuck to you and you can't get it off. It will be forever there. And that's the way that goes. So you have to always remember how these folks work. Now, let me explain something too about the word conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is a confederation, an agreement between two or more guilty people to bring about something which is bad, which is negative, which is bad. Okay? A conspiracy, you don't conspire to cure cancer. You don't conspire to buy a wonderful gift for your grandmother who turned 100. No, you conspire to destroy, okay. And conspire, the notion of is to, from the word, there's different variations, but it's either Latin or French, but it means to conspire, to breathe with, to breathe together. And it deals with, if anything, the organization. See, because in law, much like old Catholic catechism, it's the agreement that's illegal. You don't even have to go through with the agreement. Remember the old days when, from my Catholic, I'm a retired Catholic, but when I was a kid, people would say, even if you lust in your heart, you've already lusted. Well, you might as well go through with it because you've already thought it. You kind of conspired with yourself, which technically is impossible. But it's the law doesn't want you even agreeing with this. Many times people conspire to do stuff that's impossible. You and I are going to conspire to sell a nuclear bomb to some foreign agent, even though we can't do it. It doesn't really matter. There's a thing called a dry conspiracy where you and I will plan to, we'll conspire and confederate to import drugs when there's no such. Okay, fine. So conspiracy, and the word has been used beyond any and all rational. It doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means it means that they tantamount to kooky. But there are conspiracies. There are people who conspire from all walks of life. And there are people who are in prison who have themselves conspired. So understand it. Okay, now you got that. Now next, here is the question I have that we have to look at regarding the Maui fires and others. What are the warning systems? You're going to be hearing somebody who says something. They're going to say the tsunami warnings were off or on. Cell phone service was off or on. Here is the issue that I do not, and nobody can explain this one to me. No one. We are in the year 2023, if you haven't checked, 2023. And we are on the verge, if not, we are exactly on the verge of having what amounts to what is, in effect, what we will have as artificial intelligence, okay? Artificial intelligence. Better yet, artificial general intelligence, which I think poses I'm sorry to say, existential threat to humanity. But anyway, but we have not figured out how to put fires out. Now, let's start with this. Two situations. Number one, a fire in the middle of the Northern California redwoods or wherever the hell it is. A fire that starts. Nobody around. That can get out of hand real fast. I thought there would be kind of, here's my Dollar Tree globe. I would think there'd be like a satellite or something floating around. Hey, we just noticed some fire activity here. Kind of like not a directed energy weapon, but something different. But no, apparently there's nothing there. But you think somebody, you think we would have a service that goes up, fire, send in those trucks, those planes that fill up with the red substance. Go down and saturate this area. Saturate this area. Go down and saturate it. Okay. In the area of Maui, now I understand people say, well, it's dry. It's dry. And number two, I am not a fire technician. I have no idea. I've never fought a fire. I'm not a smoke jumper. I've never dropped into, I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But you think somebody would say, hey, there's a fire. It's got to start someplace. I don't think fires have to begin. And I don't think they do. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, I got 100 fires over. At least not naturally, but let's even assume. You think somebody would say, oh, we can put those out. They have to start here. You just don't have an acre of fire like that. It has to start in a point. You don't have an acre of fire that just creates itself. But even then, you think somebody will be able to say, listen, we're kind of near water. Let's fly one of those planes in and just coat this thing. You think all of these contingencies will be any place. Cincinnati, we got a fire here. We're ready to go. We're ready. Fires we've got. Either through warning systems, whatever. And people were going crazy saying, these fires are out of control. How does it get to the point where it almost looks like a bomb? How? This doesn't make sense to me. Now, when I say this doesn't make sense, that doesn't mean, aha, it's Biden, it's Trump, it's Dick Cheney, it's George Soros. Always blame George Soros. George Soros or climate change. Whatever it is, George Soros. He did it. He did it. Right? I don't understand how this is. We, in the year 2023, say, oh, we know how to do this. Yeah. They never get past half an acre. We're done. Got it. Fly over. Drop that stuff. Done. Finished. How does it go and go and go and go and go? I'm in New York City, and for some reason, we had a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago or so, we had orange skies. Why? From the Canadian wildfires. Why? I don't know. Why do we have so many fires? And whenever you say that, people say, here you go. Here you go with that. So let me just say, I'm going to be talking about this. But the thing I want you to understand, more than anything else, let us use critical thinking. Let us use the scientific method. Let us have a hypothesis, a hunch, not a theory. A theory is something that you can repeat, but a hypothesis. Work through it. See if the facts are consistent with that of which you hypothesize and of which you opine, and let's work accordingly. It doesn't do me any good to have people just take off. I heard stuff during COVID mania that I'm still wondering, how did people that I know, rational, seemingly educated people, remember the tunnels and kids and anyway, furniture, it just was like, wow. And for somebody who is the conspiracist, I believe that history is a tableau, a pastiche, a mosaic of conspiracies. Everything from Vietnam to World War II to Genghis Khan to you name it, two or more people conspired initially. That's the way it is. It is not a word which is tantamount with crazy. I'm going to talk more about that. Let me also remind you, you know how this thing is. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're new to us, thank you. Please hit that little bell so you're notified of new streams. And we do live streams all the time, 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. And more importantly, I would want to hear, what are your thoughts of this? What are your comments? What are your ideas about what have you heard that's absolutely nuts? And what particular avenue of discovery have you found that has not been taken over or taken, that has not been pursued? In any event, I ask you now most respectfully to comment as you see fit.